Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shutashmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Mahārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shutashmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Mahā-Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Sorry guys, I spaced out. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shutashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Mahārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupara Shutara Shutashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Mahā-Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vṛndāvana Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakt Shri Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura ki jai. Tadya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Dandavat pranams everybody. Hari Bol, Madhavi Didi, Dandavat pranams, Anandini Didi, Rupmanjari Didi, Ganga Didi, Sudevi Didi, Kishore Prabhu, Hari Bol. Yeah, so today we're going to be reading from this book, Shri Caitanya and His Associates by Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Goswami Mahārāja. So, one second, let me just connect with my phone so that I can, sorry, I should have done this before. Yeah, and also, yeah, I've, what the heck? Anyways, yeah, sorry. Last night at like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. I can't remember exactly what time. Am I exaggerating? Oh God, I can't even remember. Anyways, yeah, I uploaded a video of the next verse of Rupa Shiksha. Oh, I see what I'm doing wrong. I was trying to log in on my phone, but I actually need to share the link to my phone, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to invite myself as a guest, and then I'll be able to do this. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so if you get a chance, you can check it out, the next video in our Rupa Shiksha program. I need to work on making a new video for it today. This one is a bit more, this video is a bit more technical. I get into Bengali grammar a lot in it. And okay, now I should be able to enter. Allow. I'm making it so that join stream. Okay. There. All right. Now, let's see. Okay, now I just need to settings, video. There. All right. Now we can begin. Shri Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura. Okay. Vedavyasoya evase daso Vṛndāvana dhuna sakaya kusuma pīda karyatastam shata samavishat. Vedavyas became Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura, Krishna's friend Krishna's friend Kusumapir also entered into him for the sake of the Lord's pastimes. That's from Gaur Ganodesha 09. Just making sure that the right mic is working. Okay, it is. Good. Vedavyas described Krishna's pastimes in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Not different from Vyas, Vṛndāvana Das described Mahaprabhu's pastimes in his Caitanya Bhagavat. His book was first called Caitanya Mangal, but when Lochan Das later gave the same name to his biography of the Lord, it was dubbed Caitanya Bhagavat. Vṛndāvana Das's mother, Narayani. Vṛndāvana Das was born on the Krishna Dvadashi of the month of Vaishakha in 1429 of the Shaka era, 1507 AD. Some say he was born in Mamgachi in the Navadvip area. Others say his birthplace was in Kumarhatta. His father was Vaikuntanath Vipra, who originally came from Silhet. His mother was Narayani Devi. One second, there's some feedback. I'm just going to shut that off. There. His mother was Narayani Devi. Narayani was the daughter of Shivas Pandit's elder brother, Shri Nalina Pandit. Kavi Karnapur has also mentioned her name in his Gaur Ganadesh Tipika. Ambikaya Swasayasin Namni Shri Akilambika Krishno Chishtam Prabhunjana Seyam Narayani Mata. Kalimbika, who used to eat Krishna's remnants, was the younger sister of Krishna's nurse Ambika, Srivas's wife Malini. In Mahaprabhu's Leela, she became Narayani. Narayani also achieved fame because Gaurasundar bestowed his mercy on her when he gave her his remnants. Narayani was only a small child of 4 when the Lord displayed his divine form in the Mahaprakash in Shiva's Angan, but the Lord still made her intoxicated with the ecstasy of prem. Whether born in Mamgachi or in Kumarhatta, Vṛndāvana Das spent part of his childhood with his mother in Mamgachi at the home of his maternal grandparents, where Narayani was married. Vṛndāvana Das's Gaur-Nitai deities are still worshipped at the Mamgachi home. When his father died, he and his mother moved to Srivas's house, where they received Mahaprabhu's special blessings. Vṛndāvana Das later moved to the village of Dhenur in the Matreshwar precinct of the Burdwan district. Thus, Dhenur is considered to be his Shripat. Vṛndāvana Das writes Caitanya Bhagavat. Vṛndāvana Das received copious blessings from Nityananda Prabhu, and he is therefore said to have been his initiated disciple. Vṛndāvana Das is the recipient of Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. He is the original Vyas of Chaitanya's pastimes. That's from Caitanya Charitamrita 3:2082. He wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat in 1535 AD. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Caitanya Charitamrita, praised him and his work in the following words. Vṛndāvana Das, the son of Narayani, wrote the Caitanya Mangal. Vedavyas described Krishna Lila in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and Vṛndāvana Das is the Vyas of Chaitanya Lila. That's Caitanya Charitamrita 111, 54-55. Vedavyas told the story of Krishna's pastimes in Srimad-Bhagavatam. Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura is Vyasadeva of the pastimes of Chaitanya. His Chaitanya Mangal annihilates all misfortune. From it, I learned the wonders of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu, and came to know all the subtlest doctrines of devotional service to Krishna. Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura has summarized the essence of Srimad-Bhagavatam's teachings in his Chaitanya Mangal. Even an atheist or a Muslim should listen to Chaitanya Mangal. If even an atheist or Muslim listens to Chaitanya Mangal, he immediately becomes a great Vaishnava. An ordinary human being could not have composed such a sublime work. Lord Chaitanya Dev himself has spoken through the mouth of Vṛndāvana Das. I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura, who has delivered the entire universe through his book. He was born in the womb of Narayani, who ate the remnants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How wonderful is his description of the activities of the Lord. Simply by hearing them, the three worlds have become sanctified. That's from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:8, 34-42. In the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura primarily narrates Mahaprabhu's early life, such as his childhood, his student life, his chastisement of the Qazi, his departure from Navadip, as well as some aspects of his life in Puri. He then became so absorbed in the description of Nityananda Prabhu's Leela that he only gave an abbreviated account of Mahaprabhu's later pastimes. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami then elaborated on these undescribed activities in his Caitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote, Vṛndāvana Das is the authorized biographer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and equal to Srila Vyasadeva. He has described the Lord's pastimes in a very sweet way. He was afraid of excessively enlarging his book, and so left some parts of Mahaprabhu's pastimes untold. I shall try as far as possible to fill in these empty spaces. That's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 113, 48-49. Vṛndāvana Das's criticism of Vaishnava Aparad. Vṛndāvana Das showed infinite mercy on the fallen souls by warning them. Eto parihare oje papi ninda kore, tobe lati maro tar shirer upare. If someone still blasphemes the Vaishnav, even after being told how objectionable it is, I will kick him on the head. These same words are repeated several times throughout the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some foolish and arrogant persons misunderstand such statements and criticize Vṛndāvana Das for having made them. Such criticism leads them to be mired in a bog of Vaishnav Aparad. In this connection, the remarks of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, the founder of the Sri Chaitanya Mat and all the Gaudiya Mats, are well worth studying. I am even ready to kick the heads of those envious and hellish persons who blaspheme Nityananda Prabhu, to forever prevent them from repeating their attempts to show disrespect to the Supreme Lord. Not only that, by doing so, I can bring about a clear conception of the truth, and I will be offering them the greatest service. With these words, the Ṭhākura reveals compassion for even the most atheistic blasphemer with the unswerving faith appropriate to the servant of Nityananda Prabhu, the Supreme Guru. By this he instructs that though such people are an object of indifference due to their foolishness, their ignorance of the truth of Nityananda Prabhu, their insistence on rushing headlong on the path to hell, and their reluctance to act in their own real self-interest, nevertheless, he and other compassionate Vaishnavas like him who practice and preach the Lord's doctrines act for the welfare of they act for their welfare selflessly and causelessly. Vṛndāvana Das Thakur is a servant of Nityananda Prabhu, who is an avatar of Vyas and Acharya of the Vaishnava faith. If even a single fleck of dust should fall from Vṛndāvana Das's foot onto the head of a sinful blasphemer, that person will be blessed and all his sinful conditioning will inevitably be eradicated. The compassion of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas is beyond the comprehension of those who do not know what truly is in their own self-interest. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Vṛndāvana Das Thakur and both practices and preaches pure devotion to Gaura Krishna will always be engaged in efforts to bring about everyone's ultimate well-being. Though he may make a show of wanting to punish the enemies of the Lord, he, in fact, harbors a compassion toward them that knows no limit. Vṛndāvana Das Thakur's disappearance day is the Krishna Dashami of Vaishak. There is some dispute about the exact year of his disappearance, which was likely 1511 Shaka, that is 1589 AD. All right, so that's our reading for today. Let me just... All right, 1 second. There's still so much time left, though. Maybe we should sing a kirtan by Vṛndāvana Das Thakur, huh? Just, okay, 1 second. Let me just open up. What kirtan should we sing? Does anybody have any suggestions? We could sing one of his Nitai kirtans. There's one that's really nice. How does it go? Oh, but that one's not in the songbook. Anyways, you can sing Jai Jai Nityananda Rohini Kumar. That one is in the songbook. There's a really beautiful one, though. Okay, 1 second. Just opening this up. Takes a little while for my word to open up. Let me share my screen. Dandavat Pranams Gargaraji and Rajbhuvan Yadav. Okay. Oh my God, it's taking so long. And I'm just curious, is there anything extra that Srila Bharati Maharaj spoke on Vṛndāvana Das Thakur? Yeah, we can sing Nityanandashtakam. Let's sing Nityanandashtakam. Good idea. VC Vani. Okay. Word is still not opened? What's going on here? It says application not responding. There. Finally. Okay, and Srila Bharati Maharaj, what did he speak? I think we already read all this. Okay, let's read this. Okay, so this is from a class that Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj gave on Srila Vṛndāvana Thakur's disappearance Tithi on April 9th, 2010. Srila Mahārāja would invariably recite the following two verses from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, glorifying Mahaprabhu with great feel in his invocation prayers on the appearance day, as well as the disappearance Tithi of Srila Vṛndāvana Das Thakur. Then, before beginning the katha, he would say, "With these verses only, I offered my prayers to Sri Chaitanya Dev today." Ajanulambhito bhujo kanakavadhato sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksho vishvambaro dvijavaro yugadharma palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro. That's the first verse of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. I offer my respects unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, whose arms extend down to their knees, who have golden yellow complexions, and who inaugurated the congregational chanting of the holy names. Their eyes resemble the petals of a lotus. They are the maintainers of all living entities. They are the best of Brahmins, the protectors of the religious principles for this age, the benefactors of the universe, and the most merciful of all incarnations. Namastri Kala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakala Trayate Namaha. That's Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, the second verse. O Lord, who exists eternally in the three phases of time, O Scion of Jagannath Mishra, O Lord, accompanied by your servants and sons and wives, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. This is a special day, the disappearance day of Patit Pavan Srila Vṛndāvana Das Thakur. The appearance and disappearance days of Vaishnavas are equally significant because both inspire the remembrance which brings about all auspiciousness to the living entities. Narayani Sutta Vṛndāvana Das Thakur. Traditionally, people would identify themselves with their father's name. However, Vṛndāvana Das Thakur addressed himself as Narayani Sutta, owing to the fact that his connection with Sri Chaitanya Dev was not through his father, but through his mother, Narayani, who was graced by Sri Chaitanya Dev when she was only 5 years old. Narayani is the daughter of Srivas Pandit's brother. She was residing in Srivas Pandit's house when Mahaprabhu first began performing Sankirtan there behind closed doors. Upon discovering that some envious atheists had complained to the Muslim government officials with the intention to put him behind bars for wreaking havoc during the nightly Sankirtan performed at his house, Srivas became anxious. Despite Mahaprabhu's reassuring words that, being the supreme controller, he would inspire the perpetrators within their hearts to not cause any harm to Srivas, Srivas was not fully convinced. Hence, Mahaprabhu decided to prove himself by commanding the 5-year-old niece of Srivas, Narayani, to weep in Krishna Prem, and instantaneously she drowned in the ecstasy overcome by Krishna Prem. Seeing this astonishing occurrence, everyone was reassured. Vṛndāvana Das Thakur is her son. Having lost his father when he was just a child, he resided at his maternal grandparents' home along with his mother. In those days, the Brahmins were accustomed to follow strict rules and regulations. However, Vṛndāvana Das Thakur was unconcerned with such considerations. The Brahmins even objected to Nityananda Prabhu giving mercy to Udhara and Datta, who belonged to the merchant class. Yet no one dared to speak anything objectionable before Vṛndāvana Das Thakur, who, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, fearlessly explained in his writings how in Kali Yuga, demons take birth among Brahmin families to raise objections and present counter-arguments. It was quite extraordinary to be so bold in those days. Beyond contributing through his writings, he fearlessly propagated the unadulterated scriptural doctrines, a subtle consideration of bad association. Srila Vṛndāvana Das Thakur was so unprejudiced that in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, he did not mention his father, even though this defied the prevalent social custom. He mentioned only those relatives who were practicing devotees. For instance, while he did not mention his grandfather, he mentioned his grandfather's brother, owing to his connection with Hari Bhakti. He considered, why waste time mentioning those in whom Hari Bhakti has not awakened? Where there is no connection with Krishna Bhakti, Vṛndāvana Thakur exhorts, it is bad association. Similarly, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Du sanga ko ye kaitav atma vanchana Krishna Krishna bhakti binu anya kamana at Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 2499. Cheating oneself and cheating others is called kaitava. Associating with those who cheat in this way is called dusanga, bad association. Those who desire things other than Krishna's service are also called dusanga, bad association. Any desire other than Krishna and Krishna Bhakti is dusanga. Vṛndāvana Das Thakur epitomized this principle throughout his life and exemplified it through his precept. Therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says, Manushe rachite nare aiche granta dhanya Vṛndāvana dāsa mukhe vakta Shri Caitanya at Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 839. The subject matter of this book is so sublime that it appears that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally spoken through the writings of Sri Vṛndāvana Das Thakur. This scripture cannot be written by an ordinary human being. These are the words spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through Vṛndāvana Das's mouth. Okay, I'm going to skip this part because we already read about this. Oh, look, there's a handwritten Chaitanya Bhagavata of Vṛndāvana Das Thakur. Wow. Okay. Vṛndāvana Das Thakur's style of composition. If you want to read this, you can see it on vcvani.com. His style of composition. Srila Vṛndāvana Das Thakur's hallmark was that he composed many verses in Bengali language based on corresponding scriptural verses, bringing out their essence in a manner which was not only appealing, but easy to decode for the general masses as well. The famous Bhagavad Gita verse 922, Ananyas chintayanto mam, he translated as Jai Jai Jana Chinte More Ananya Hoya Tare Bhika Deya Mui Matai Bohiya. I personally carry on my head the needs of any person who thinks of me without deviation. It's Chaitanya Antya 557. Meaning those devotees who worship me with one pointed devotion, I personally carry upon my head what they need and deliver it to them. Another verse from the Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo, he translated as Jaditi ho nahi janai yena jeno apanare tabe kara shakti ache janite tahare. It's Chaitanya Bhagavat Antya 370. Who has the power to know the Lord if he does not reveal himself? There are so many other beautiful translations he has rendered. Srila Prabhupada, in his Gaudiya Bhashya commentary to Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, cited all the Praman shlokas, the original verses corresponding to the select verses from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, just to enlighten the masses about the brilliance of Vṛndāvana Das Thakur's contribution. Srila Vṛndāvana Das Thakur translated the essence of the scriptural verses in the form of those simple prayers, refuting all different ideologies and establishing the supremacy of the Gaudiya ideology in a manner easy to understand. Srila Prabhupada proved how Srila Vṛndāvana Das Thakur's writings were indeed based on scriptures and not merely a figment of his own imagination. Those who read Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and the foreword to the Gaudiya Bhashya commentary will understand all of this. Whoever reads Srila Prabhupada's commentary becomes astounded. Suryakant Goswami, the Gosai of Sri Banke Bihari from Vrindavan, became astonished upon seeing so many scriptural references being quoted as evidence in the Gaudiya Bhashya, which indicated the depth and vastness of Srila Prabhupada's study of the scriptures. He had composed and printed these books, and that too in a span of just 18 years of his preaching efforts. Suryakant Goswami said, "How is it humanly possible to study and quote so many references?" He added that he was a mere child when he met Srila Prabhupada. Vṛndāvana Das Thakur has nicely explained in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat the evolution of different philosophical doctrines, such as Vishishta Advaitavad, followed by Dvaitavad, and Bheda Bhed, until we arrive at Achinta Bheda Bhed. There are many scriptural evidences to prove the godhood of Sri Chaitanya Dev, but very few about Nityananda Prabhu being Baladev. Although Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura has not quoted scriptural references proving Nityananda Prabhu's identity as being non-different from Baladev, he has composed many beautiful payars establishing this truth. Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura explains everything in an endearing fashion. He elucidated Nityananda Tattva, that is, the first expansion of the Supreme Lord, with great affection, because without his grace, no one can attain the grace of the Supreme Lord. Srila Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura is Patit Pavan. Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura exhaustively and specially sang the glories of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. His bhajans attracted all and recommended the worship of the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu accepted all types of roles to attract various categories of conditioned souls to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. One of the reasons he enacted the pastime of adorning himself with ornaments was to attract the dacoits. Eventually, those dacoits took shelter of Nityananda Prabhu after repeatedly failing in their attempts to loot him. This pastime has been beautifully narrated in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavatam by Srila Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura. Nityananda Prabhu possesses so much affection for all souls that he cares for them like parents care for their children, sometimes even by beating them for their own good. Can anyone else do such a thing? Once in Shanti Niketan, I witnessed a father beating his own child black and blue. Overcome by compassion for that child, I offered his father money, requesting him to stop beating the child, only to realize later that in beating the child, the father exhibited more compassion than I, because the act of beating was done for the child's ultimate welfare. The father told me, "My son is refusing to study. If I do not control him now, then he'll become a fool like me. He'll simply become a mill worker like me and will have to sustain on daily wages, or sometimes even starve." At the end, I was left to wonder, was my attempt to relieve the child from being beaten a greater exhibition of compassion than the father beating him? Certainly not. Then why did I go to free that child? Because often one may be deceived with what meets the eye. This principle is presented by Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura. It is inappropriate to judge anything as good or bad merely based on external actions, without assessing the underlying cause behind it. How big a risk the father had to take to discipline his child for the latter's welfare. Likewise, Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura, Nityananda Prabhu's direct disciple, sings his glories and with folded hands implores everyone to take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu for their eternal welfare. After extensively glorifying Nityananda Prabhu, Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura says, "If someone disregards these glories, and instead if someone blasphemes Nityananda Prabhu, I will kick that person on his head." Externally speaking, such words may sound harsh and far from appealing, but upon deeper consideration, one will realize how they imply adbhut daya, phenomenal compassion. Therefore, Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura is addressed as Patit Pavan Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura, the deliverer of the fallen. Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura says, "Despite all my preaching efforts, should any soul remain bereft of the desire for his own eternal welfare, while even having committed offenses against Nityananda Prabhu, then I shall resort to kicking him on the head, thereby giving him my foot dust." It is said, "Bhakta pada dhuli ar bhakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avashesh tina mahabal." That's Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 1660. The dust of the feet of a devotee, the water that has washed the feet of a devotee, and the remnants of food left by a devotee are three very powerful substances that bestow strength in spiritual practices. Subtle coverings upon our hearts, though externally invisible, cause obstructions hindering our progress in bhajan. Such obstacles are destroyed by these three transcendental substances. But Vṛndāvana Ṭhākura is taking upon himself this great responsibility of giving his foot dust upon the heads of the Christian souls for their eternal welfare, just as Nityananda Prabhu had graced Shivananda Sen by kicking him on his head. This analogy is pertinent here with regards to the blessing in the form of foot dust. However, Shivananda Sen is not a conditioned soul. He is an eternal associate of the Lord. So, like Nityananda Prabhu, Vṛndāvana Das Thakur is also very compassionate towards the living entities to bestow eternal good fortune upon them in some way or the other. Today is Patit Pavan Śrīla Vṛndāvana Das Thakur's disappearance day. I offer my humble obeisances at his lotus feet and pray for his causeless mercy. I beg at his lotus feet that by his grace I may obtain the strength to preach and practice Hari Bhakti as fearlessly as he did. Vanchakalpataru Vyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so now we're going Nityanandashtakam or Jai Jai Nityananda Rohini Kumar? Maybe let's do Jai Jai Nityananda Rohini Kumar because it's late. There's some really nice songs by Vṛndāvana Das Thakur, but they're not in the Gaudiya Giti Gucha. Like, how does it go? Hare Bhai Nitai Amar Dayar Abadi. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the son of Rohini. To deliver the fallen souls, he extends his two arms. With a choked voice, he stammers sweetly. Whomever he sees, he lovingly embraces. Overflowing with prem, his eyes always roll about restlessly, looking like bumblebees hovering over a golden lotus. The merciful Lord, Sri Nitai, knows the sufferings of others. He has strung together a garland of the holy names, which he has bestowed upon the people of this world. He has subdued the sinners and the atheists, but he has distributed prem to the poor and the lowly. So to the sinners and atheists, anyways. Calling out, alas, O Gauranga, he falls to the earth. Nitai's whole body becomes soaked with the tears from his eyes. Within his heart, Vṛndāvana Das considers Sri Nityananda Prabhu to be like Mount Sumeru falling upon the earth. Okay, let me just get my mridanga. Actually, let me make the text bigger. There. Just checking everything's okay on the connection. All right. Yeah, Manjari Didi, I'm not singing Nityanandashtakam just because it will take longer to sing. So I'm just singing this. Jaya, we'll sing it together, right? Jaya Jaya Nityananda Rohini Kumara Patitayo Dhara Lage Dubaho Pasara Gara Gada Madhura Madhura Adabola Jare Dekhe Tare Preme Dhori Deya kolo Dagomagalo chana Guraye nirantara Sonaraka male jeno Piraye pramara Dayara Ṭhākura Nitai Paraduka Jane Harinamer Mala Ganthi Dilo Jagajane Papi Pashandi Jato Korilo Dalana Dinahina Jane Koila Prema Bitarana Ahare Goranga Boli Pare Bhumi Tale Sharira Bhijilo Nitar Nayane Rajale Vṛndāvana dāsa mane e bichari lo dharaniyo pare kiba sumeru parilo jaya jaya Nityananda Rohini ko Mahārāja Patitayo Dhara lage Dubahu pasara Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram Jaya Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura Vṛndāvana dāsa Jai Guru Deva Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. Gonna do a short Jayadvani. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai, Jai Shri Param Gurudev ki Jai, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai, Sa Pashad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vṛndāvana ki Shri Vṛndāvana Das Ṭhākura ki Jai, Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav ki Jai, Shri Caitanya Bhagavat ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Ballabha Tīrtha Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Dait Madhav Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. See you all tomorrow for our we'll continue on with the second we'll begin the second chapter reading Srila Prabhupada's purports, Srimad-Bhagavatam, of the 10th canto. Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Prajumna Prabhu. No problem. Okay, Hari Bol, everybody. Oh, and check out if you get a chance, you can go to YouTube, the Vine of Devotion page. If you need the link for the Vine of Devotion page, go to vineofdevotion.com and you'll see the link at the top of the page for the YouTube channel. And yeah, I just put out the next video. So yeah, check it out, and I'd like to know what you think also. Hari Bol.